station. Just remember, any shuffling you do, they will hear it.
Okay, done.
You're listening to WKDW Radio 97.5 and KDWRadio.com, broadcasting from the Bishop West Real Estate Mobile Tower right here in absolutely gorgeous Northport, Florida. I've got a very, very, very special guest in the house. I'm going to let her take a couple seconds and introduce herself. Joan, you've got the lead.
Hi, my name is Joan Derrick Haycox. I am the volunteer coordinator and sexual victims advocate for CARE, Center for Rape and Center for Abuse and Rape Emergencies, and we are located in Charlotte County.
Why don't you give the hotline? We'll do that real quick. If anybody were to need the hotline, they can and while you're looking for that number, because I got you, they can go online and go to the CARE site. CARE, if you just type in CARE Charlotte, you'll be able to find CARE. There's a hotline at the top. There's a text and there's a chat online, ready and easily accessible for just about anybody out there. Did you happen to find the number?
I found, so the CARE number, which is answered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, is 941-639-5499. And the helpline, which is for sexual victims, is also answered 24/7. And that line is 941-627-6000. So 6,000.
So, it's easy to get a hold of you guys. It's easy to get into a conversation with you. One of the hardest things, and we've always talked about this on the radio show, one of the hardest things to do is actually be able to pick up the phone and dial the number and have that chat. And we're all about tearing the walls down here. We're trying to get rid of the, I think, the shyness of being able to do that when you do have the ability. What would you tell people right now if they're in a situation where they're by themselves, they're able to just have a quick chat and maybe get some information? What would you tell them to get them to relax and just do it?
Well, I would say that if you are experiencing the trauma after an assault and it's not immediately afterwards, because if it's within 5 days, we'd like you to go, if you can, to the hospital so that we can help you from the hospital perspective. If it's been past 5 days, like maybe something that happened in your childhood or, adolescence, or even just a year ago, or it doesn't matter, that when you call us, that there will be a friendly, warm person answering the phone, and that we all understand you and we all believe you. So there is never going to be a doubt if anybody believes you. We start by believing you, and we want to help you and give you a space and a time and to feel comfortable to talk about those very difficult things. Often there's a lot of shame and embarrassment around it, but we all understand. And so you can say what you need to say to us, and we're there and we're ready to listen. We also provide services as well. But there's always a person that's going to answer the phone and believe what you say.
So I'm going
to help you with services.
I'm going to read this real quick. April marks Sexual Awareness and Prevention Month, and we're standing with our allies in the assault service field because we're in the same struggle. I want you to talk about, it's 22 years that we've had a month about sexual assault. I did not know that until I pulled the data. That's a long time to be talking about this, but it's amazing that we've been talking about it for 22 years, and it hasn't diminished the factors any. But man, what did they talk about before that?
They didn't talk about it. That's the whole point. It was kept silent. It was kept hidden. Just make it go away. Don't talk about it. So if I can share with you just the statistics, we're not talking enough about it. And we need to get everyone talking about it and feeling comfortable talking about it. Because every 68 seconds, a person is sexually assaulted. So if our show is an hour long or whatever it is, in 1 hour, almost 60 people have been sexually assaulted. And every day in the United States, 70 people, 70 women specifically, commit suicide as a result of sexual assault. So we need to keep talking about it. We need to be calling and reporting. So if a girl or boy, of course, is under the age of 18 and they've had a sexual relationship or a sexual assault or an encounter with someone that is over the age of 18, and again, boyfriend, girlfriend is a gray area, but when it's a sexual predator, often the girls and boys thinks it's somebody that loves them and wants them, and they can't make good distinctions between someone who is manipulating and is a predator. And so out of embarrassment, they remain silent. But if that's happening, we need to report that so we can stop it.
So we've got 22 years of talking about this. We've got data to support how many are involved in, what'd you say, 60 seconds?
Every 68 seconds, someone
That's
is sexually assaulted
all
in
right.
the
So
United States.
let's stay there for a second, because 68 seconds, and how many people?
Every 68 seconds, one person is sexually assaulted. So
All
in
right.
an hour, approximately 60 people have been sexually assaulted.
I mean, that's insane when you think about it.
Correct.
I mean, it really is. And we've got a lot of issues going around right now in our society. We've got the stressors of jobs. We've got the stressor of higher prices. We've got the stressors of where am I going to go live? Uh, all these factors, and I don't want to degrade this into a uh, lower income issue, because it is not. This happens at all levels, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Sexual assault is not discriminatory, and neither is domestic violence. It happens equally to all people. It happens primarily to girls or women. So of all the people that are sexually assaulted, 90% of them are done to women, so 10% to boys and men. And what's really, really important is that we understand that the sexual predators are known to us. So 90% of all sexual predators are known to the victims. It's not stranger danger. It's our next door neighbor. It's our family members. It's people that we put in places of authority and that we trust. And it happens often to younger girls in very young ages. So it's not about stressors. Sexual assault is not about stressors. It doesn't happen because somebody is stressed out. It happens because the person that is the predator, the person that's doing the assault, is looking to have power and control over another person through a sexual act or sexual behavior. So it's not related to stress. It's directly related to a desire for power and control through sexual behaviors or sexual acts. And the purpose is to diminish and harm the other person so that so they can disempower that person. And especially at young ages, it causes very severe loss of a sense of autonomy, a powerlessness, a helplessness, particularly when it happens in childhood.
And so I want to go back to Friday's show. Friday's show was with the Northport Theater, and they've got a performance coming up. But I talked to four young aspiring actresses and performers, um, and I kept asking them a key question. And the key question was, are you gaining confidence? Are you able to come out of your shell? Are you feeling like you're part of a network? And I want to use that, and because I've been doing this for so long, and I watch behaviors. I listen to you guys, I listen to other people, and when you attribute a lot of what happens out there in society, it isn't a lot of times the active, more powerful person. It is the one who may be getting beat up the most, and I'm not talking physically, I'm talking even verbally. It is the one that doesn't have, they're kind of shell shocked with what's going on in their life. Maybe the home life is not that well. Can you talk about how really just the confidence of a person uh, it does change a lot out there on the streets, and that's why I was asking that question, because you carry yourself different, you pay attention differently, you're paying attention to your surroundings differently. Not that it can't happen, but you just put yourself in better positions when you're elevating your life a lot of times. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So I'm gonna talk about two different perspectives on this. Okay, two understandings. So, or three rather. So perpetrators or people that are sexual predators have often, not always, but often experienced some form of sexual assault or family violence or domestic violence or abuse in their own childhood or adolescence. Um, Not all people that have experienced abuse become abusers, but often an abuser was abused. So, sort of same side, opposite sides of the same coin. So, abusers are manipulators and they're looking for a victim. So there's two different ways to talk about this when it comes to women and people protecting themselves. So when we have a circle of friends or a circle of acquaintances, people that support us and trust us, or that support us and that we trust, we walk with our head up, we pay attention to what's going around us, called situational awareness, and we stand up straight and tall. We look people in the eye. We are less likely to be sexually assaulted because perpetrators are looking for someone who is isolated, who does not have a family structure that supports them, who is unstable perhaps in a job or in a housing situation. So they're looking for people that are vulnerable. They're looking for vulnerable people. And we can become vulnerable because of all the circumstances that are happening right now, the housing, the cost of living, the change in relationships and friends because you had to move or change jobs because of the hurricane, for example. That's caused a lot of loss.
Sure
So
has.
when we experience loss, it can make us feel vulnerable if we don't have a support system. So support system is huge. Now, the other aspect of this is if a child has been sexually assaulted at a young age and never received support, it was never reported, or they were told to be quiet, or it wasn't, don't tell anybody, it's not that bad, you're exaggerating, you're lying, you made that up. Again, that not believing, right? That's
Yep.
why believing is so important. So they have a tendency to actually be in a very vulnerable place as they grow up. It's almost like a perpetrator can find them. It's almost like they wear a sign that says, "I'm vulnerable." So that vulnerability that comes out of early childhood abuse or sexual assault continues on unless they receive help and services and support. So those people that are in that situation, which is what we see a lot of, continually violated and assaulted because they are not even aware, but the perpetrators are. They can find them.
And I've said this before on the show, on multiple shows, because I've had law enforcement on. We've talked about the criminal behavior out there, and uh, I don't care how you slice it. This is criminal behavior
Mm-hmm.
at its finest. So, the one thing is we talk about often, how do we protect our house, and I've had the police officers on, and we've talked about how they protect and how we can protect our house. But one police officer pulled me aside and he goes, you can spend 5 minutes on a phone and you can have somebody come in and put the best system in, and you can have it in place and you can have your security up and running. But you realize that you just spent 8 hours, or maybe 8 hours and 5 minutes, trying to figure out how to secure your home. And the criminals are out there spending 12 hours a day trying to figure out how to annihilate that. If you've got that kind of a force just trying to break into your house, I wonder how susceptible people would feel if they really analyze themselves as the house. There are people out there in this world right now studying behaviors
Yes.
so that they can absolutely get inside your house, which is you. I mean, truthfully, if we just analyzed it on a level that made people think a little different, if you're that concerned about your house that you lock the front door, why are you walking down the street with your head down, looking at your cell phone when you're in a neighborhood you don't know?
Mm-hmm. Well,
So,
again, some of that is because of that vulnerability of not having confidence from the get-go, from early childhood, and being so we can't negate that. That's a very important aspect. They've never been taught to protect their house. And again, when someone is sexually assaulted, their body is the crime scene,
yep.
and they often feel the guilt of it and carry that guilt with them into adulthood. And I can't stress that enough, because so much of this sexual assault happens in early childhood and adolescents and young adults. So that is where a significant number of assaults take place that go unreported, and they carry that feeling of a shame and embarrassment and uncleanness and unworthiness, and I'm not good enough, or I'm a terrible person, or I caused it, with them into their lives. And so they do carry with their head down, in a sense. So it's important that we teach and encourage everyone to hold their head up, even if they don't feel like it. So stand up straight and look at people in the eye.
Well,
Um,
and that is a extremely well put. The when you're, I've had damsel in defense on. We've talked about how to carry yourself. We've talked in depth with care on how to carry yourself. Pay attention to your surroundings. I I got to tell you, 22 years we've been talking about it. Prior to that, we hadn't talked about it at all, and it was actually shameful to have that conversation. It was buried. Okay. So burying a conversation and then having it drawn out for 22 years and still having stats like 1 in every 68 seconds that someone's getting assaulted. Okay. So I almost think we have to break this down and start talking basic. You know, we can say, pay attention to what you're doing 24/7. How about let's start here? If you're somewhere where you don't know, that's a good start. That's a really good start to practice paying attention to where you're at. I think we have to really make people realize that just because you're walking down the street that you walk down every day, it doesn't mean you're safe, because anything can happen on that street. But take the street you don't know, take the area that you don't know, and there's the habits that you're creating walking down your own street to go to your friend's house and looking down at your phone. It's not a good habit to have when anything can happen. And most of these grab and go type situations, they're 30 seconds. You're gone.
Right.
You have time to respond a lot of times.
Right.
Can and I
Let
know
me,
I'm going
oh,
off on a tangent, but and I don't mean to, but legitimately we've got to figure out how to get people to start grabbing a hold of tidbits of information and then expanding the file to. And what would you suggest?
well, first of all, John, let me just reiterate something. You're talking about a grab and go. That was that stranger danger that many of us taught our kids, grew up with. Only 10% of sexual assaults are done by a stranger, the
I agree.
grab and go. 50%, over 50% of sexual assault takes place in the home. Not out on the street, not walking down the neighborhood. 50% takes place in our homes. Our homes aren't safe. So we are sexually assaulted, women and men are sexually assaulted 50% of the time in their home. And then another 20% of the time on their way to and from work or school. And then 7%, even more greater chance, is on college campuses. So it isn't the stranger danger walking down the street. It is the professor. And I don't mean to, but remember, sexual predators are in all different vocations.
I agree,
And the
but
sexual predator can be a father, a grandfather. It can be a brother, a cousin, a next door neighbor, a friendly face. It can be someone in the school system, someone in your sports, someone in your church. So when we focus all this energy on stranger danger, we're distracted from what's really happening in our homes. You talked about protecting our home from the outsider. We have to protect our homes from the insider that is causing harm. That is the most important. That's where our energy needs to be. Not worrying about walking down the street. Yes, hold your head up. But this is happening in our homes. It's
so
happening in marriages. It's happening in dating. And it's happening by people that we know and trust. That's
so
the majority.
do you think that, and I'm asking this now, and I'm trying to figure out a way to talk about this where it may wake somebody up. You know, you say it happens in home, which statistically it's a fact. It is a fact. Home, churches, schools, just about anywhere you can name, any building,
Anywhere.
it doesn't matter. It's somebody at some point is going to have that happen. So if you're if you are part of that, and and you've got more experience, so I'm going to count on you for this. The the fact that somebody gets sexual assaulted, are people around them even paying attention?
Often no. And
That
that's what we're talking about.
I know,
Is
I know, but where there's habits here, that are being inflicted on our society today that we did not have when I was a kid. Okay. When we needed to make a phone call, we ran down the block, threw a quarter in the phone, and we made our phone call, or we ran home. We are so distracted right now between the phone and tablets and all this electronic device. We're not paying attention, whether it's home or not. we are a society right now of downlookers. We are looking down more than we're looking up, and we've got to find a way to break that habit, whether it's at home or not. And I agree with you on the grab and goals. I just am trying to, if we're not watching it at home and we're not able to realize it, maybe because we're distracted doing other things.
Well, let me just say something that CARE's been around for 40 years.
Right.
So in January, we will be having our 40th gala. CARE itself has actually been around 40 years. So it started out as a entirely volunteer abuse and rape crisis center. So this is not new. This has been going on forever. It's not just started because people are on their computers and not paying attention. This has been going on forever. Girls have been sexually assaulted and boys have been sexually assaulted, and the response previously has been, I don't believe you, it didn't happen, don't talk about it, it's not possible because we know the perpetrator, he would never do something like that, or she. But that's the conversation that we've lived with for many, 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 many years. That's been a long history of silencing the victims. So it isn't that people are watching TV now and not paying attention. It's because we are not comfortable talking about it. It's because we're not sure what to do, because it's very, very difficult to prosecute a sexual predator. And the sexual predators are all around us in our homes and in our neighborhoods.
Let's talk about that then, because the fact that I agree with everything you just said. I'm just trying to find a different perspective because 40 years you guys have been there dealing with that problem, whether and you just got more check marks all over your checklist now. You're dealing with this one, this one, this one. The list of what you guys deal with every day at CARE is not just one facet. It's a multifaceted organization now where you're dealing with all kinds of different things, whether it be rape or sexual assault or human trafficking. You're dealing with a lot of different things. Now, ironically, we're still talking about under one umbrella. That's why you're dealing with it. But there's so many different aspects that we're on this show, at least, we're trying to wake people up. And what you guys do every day, you're still trying to wake people up and make them realize that not just they can come forward, but other people are coming forward.
Yes.
They are talking about it. I mean, we had the event down at the convention center, and truthfully,
that was human trafficking. Yes.
I agree. It's human trafficking, but you know what? It's breaking the barrier down for conversation.
Right.
And ironically, all these conversations that we're having on different months and different aspects of what you guys do every day, we are breaking down conversations. We are hopefully igniting some awareness within the house and within the schools and movie theaters and different areas like that. But I'm not trying to sound frustrated, but I am kind of frustrated because as a whole, collectively, I feel like you guys do sometimes, where you've got to recharge yourself and find a way to go, it is working. Just got to keep going.
Well, it is working because in 1980, around late 1980s, it was still legal. So we've changing laws. That's a big part of what's going on now. It was legal for a husband to rape his wife. Up until the late 1980s, it was legal for a husband to rape his wife. And in the psychiatric diagnosis manual, incest wasn't necessarily considered bad. So all this research and working with victims, we're finding out incest is wrong. It's a criminal act. But in 1980s, it wasn't. So we have to change our understanding of what is a criminal and what is criminal behavior. And before, we didn't consider it a criminal behavior. And it's very hard to prove. But that's what's changing, is what we think of as okay.
So,
we talk about, well, it was, it was always like that. But I'd like to give, if I can, a shout out to, if I'm allowed to, the Punta Gorda Police Department and the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office, because I have been working with them, particularly just recently with the detective, Detective Smith at the Punta Gorda Police Department, and she was brilliant. And we worked really well together when someone came in to report. It was beyond 5 days. So with so much courage and bravery, this young woman came in to report a rape. And the Punta Gorda Police Department could not have been more gracious and understanding. And what great listeners, and working with this person, not only to, of course, prosecute and convict a rapist, but to support her and acknowledge her bravery, the bravery of this young woman. And it empowered her, because she went there and she spoke to the detective who believed her, who helped her tell the story, helped her get out those words and describe what happened, which is very uncomfortable, of course. And the girl, the young woman, she sat up straight and she thought, I'm ashamed. But at the end, she's like, I'm not ashamed, because I was young and I didn't know any better. And it was wrong. I didn't cause it. It's not my fault. So often we've historically blamed the victims. So I just want to give a shout out to our local police departments in Charlotte County and the Sheriff's Office. What a great job that they are doing. So if anybody needs to report, please go to the police department, go to the Sheriff's Office and report. Speak to them. They will listen to you. They will believe you, and they will help you draw out the story that's so hard to tell.
And that being said, I want to say this, and I lead in for you. It's confidential.
Yes. Working with us is confidential.
Yeah.
And free.
And free. And I say that to you because the fear of coming forward is not the fear we had 22 years ago. Because 22 years ago, you had organizations like yours, but society was handling it different then.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
As a whole. So we've enlightened society, we've educated society, whether it be the human trafficking side that we push out there, that's really important too, because it's a factor that you guys play in. Rape and prevention is another one. Sexual assault is another one. That umbrella that you guys have to get this communication out, this education piece out, is really the most. I think if we just all took a look at what we're doing and what's happening around us as a whole, and start paying attention. We've come a long way. We've let technology take us a lot of places. We've got a chat line, we've got hotlines,
yes.
We've got all kinds of things out there readily available and easy to use. And you don't have to necessarily, you go to the bathroom, you can do a chat, even if it's 30 seconds.
Right. And report. So if we can report through the dcfmyfamilies.com, child abuse, elder abuse, we can report it. So if you know it's happening to a child, but you don't know what to do, you can report it to DCF and they will act on it. And that's really, really important. There are ways to get this information out there. Can I do another shout out?
No, you cannot. Go ahead. Go for it.
DCF has done a great job too of following up right away whenever we've had to report things to support people when we find things out. And I don't mean we, myself personally, but anytime anyone in our field, whether it's the hospitals or whatever, DCF has responded very promptly and actively and taken a role in this. But what I wanted to shout out about is the reason I'm wearing turquoise is April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And so I'm wearing teal because teal is the color of Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So everybody, if you can wear teal, please do. Talk about sexual assault. Ask your friends and family if they have been. Don't be afraid to ask the tough question. Have you ever been sexually assaulted? Did it happen in childhood? What can we do to help you? We have clients that have been coming that were sexually assaulted in childhood, and they're older and they're now working it out because it's affected their entire life. And so we have a sexual assault awareness walk April 15th, and it's at the Larry Taylor Kiwanis Park. That's this Saturday. If you're the first 100 to sign up, you're going to get a free t-shirt, and it starts at 9 o'clock. We'll be there around 8 to set up. If you want to talk to one of us while you're there, there'll be sexual victims advocates like myself that will be there. We can talk to you. We're going to walk. So let's walk. Let's talk about it. And let's show our support so that more people can come forward and so that predators know that they can't get away with this anymore. And we're going to stop you. The other thing I wanted to create awareness about is we have a wonderful luncheon, again, Sexual Assault Awareness Month luncheon, and it's going to be at the we're having a speaker, and her name is Mindy Fetterman, and she will be speaking about the Inner Truth Project related to sexual assault. And she is a wife, a mother, and a survivor. And this luncheon is going to be fabulous. It's at the Isles Yacht Club here in Punta Gorda on April 19th, and it starts at 12 noon. So again, call CARE and put in your reservation. Same with the walk. Call us at CARE 941-639-5499 to register for the walk so you can get your t-shirt, and register for the luncheon so you can support this lovely lady and her story and hear more about it and meet other people we're all joining together. The more we can join together and to talk about this and let people know that we're going to stop it. It may happen, but we can stop the long-lasting trauma by having people come and receive services. So we have 24-hour, 7 days a week, hotline, helpline calls. The number I gave you, you can call that number anytime, any day, and someone will talk to you, and they will begin by believing you. And we also have one-on-one counseling sessions. We have support groups on Wednesdays from 3 to 4, every Wednesday, 3 to 4. Just call and we'll tell you how to find us. And and just come and talk and have someone else know that there are people just like you that are suffering and have kept silent for a long time. And the more we can talk about it, the easier it is to understand what's happening to us and change the world. So we're all about changing the world. In the month of April, wear turquoise and talk about it. Also, on Wednesday, the 26th of April is Denim Day. So wear your denim. Wear denim blue jean, denim shirt, denim jacket. I know it's getting hot, but denim shorts, denim dress, whatever you have, in honor of a young woman that was in Italy. She was 18 and she was sexually assaulted by her driving instructor who was 45 years old. She was 18 and in school. And he was convicted of sexual assault, but it was appealed because they said she was wearing tight jeans and she would have had to help him take the jeans off. Therefore, she was giving consent. So that's not how sexual assault works. We want to survive a sexual assault. So sometimes we have to do what we have to do to survive so we don't die. And that's what that's all about. So wearing denims on April 26th.
So do you have any more shout outs out there?
I shout out to you, John. Thank you for having us.
Awesome. Well,
we love it. And we so appreciate that you're supporting us and being a voice for us.
You know what? I've enjoyed every minute of it. Please give some shout outs to people that you work with.
Well, we have a wonderful team of people. First, Karen, she is our executive director, and our board who does everything they can to keep us going. We have Jamie, who's our sexual victims manager, and our team is Brooke and Marilyn and Laura and myself on the SV team, and we have the DV team. I don't want to forget anybody, but that's the SV team. But we have everyone that's there is there to help you and help support people who are suffering from domestic violence, sexual assault, and we want to help you make your life better. We want to empower you, and we again. Chad and Brutus that work at the attorney, the offices, the state attorney's offices, and wherever they're located. But yeah, we have our economic justice people, Karen and Annalise, and their boss Alyssa and Ashley at the shelter. I mean, oh gosh, Kira, everybody, we're all there helping, and we're there to help you. We're there. Call us. Keep us busy. And my big request is that everyone in Charlotte County puts the CARE phone number in their phone so that anytime they run across someone, you can just say, hey, take this phone number, give them a call. They can help you, because most people can't. Most family members can't listen to the story. They don't even know they're so traumatized by the story. You need a professional. You need someone that does this. This is what we do for a living, is support people. So call us and work with us and let us help you change the world, change your life so you can change the world and make it a better place for everyone.
I want to stay there for a second because I want you to talk about some of the survivors. Can you?
I'm sorry. You want me to?
Some of the survivors who have changed their lives. Can you think of a story that you could tell about somebody who was sexually assaulted and how reporting and going through the process and getting to the other side? And I know that you have to have a story in there somewhere of success, but I think people do need to hear that there is a transition from one to the other.
We have many stories of success, and success is relative, right?
Yep.
Success can be different for many different people, but we, again, I just worked with someone recently who went to the police station and reported it. And that was a huge success because she was able to speak about it. And when she left, she sat up straight and she was able to look us in the eye and give us a hug. And I said to her, we may not convict the person, we may, but what's more important is that you have taken your power back, is that you now are a stand for yourself and you no longer have to hide. And you no longer have to feel that you're not loved and valuable and wanted and adored. And so we've had others that have, they've gotten a new home and they got out an abusive situation, and often abuse, sexual assault in a young childhood. I did a lot of work on this, and when they can say no, practice saying no, loud. And that, working with the client, I had another client, again, they learned to say no. And that was success for them. Others, they were able to get a new job, get a job when they weren't allowed to get a job because their abuser wouldn't let them. They got a job, they got their own house, they got their kids free from the abuser, and they were able to live a happy life and moving forward. So we have lots and lots of stories of success, but again, it's confidential and all of our services are free.
And you've got sorry, I've got a very rude person typing things on my page, so I'll eliminate them right now.
Mm. Yes, that happens, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. So that just goes to show that there are creeps out there lurking, even on the Facebook family. There are creeps out there lurking right now, and this is exactly what people need to start doing: is blocking people like this, and making sure that they don't have access anymore. Um, so, I love fan participation. I just don't like creepy fan participation. And it's ironic that we're sitting here talking about a topic they kind of matched up.
Yep.
So if, and I want parents to think about this for a second. We're here talking about somebody behaving just exactly like that person who just put a post up. We're two adults having a grown up conversation. Imagine what your 11-year-old little girl would have done, or 12-year-old, or 13-year-old, or 15-year-old disgruntled girl or boy would have.
Especially 15-year-old disgruntled girl, teenage daughter, right?
Yeah. So, there couldn't have been a better creeper show up at the perfect moment than what we just had. But it goes to show it happens to adults too, in an adult conversation.
Yes.
And an adult conversation that was really specifically designed for them.
Well, that was the point that I made to this young lady. We can't change the perpetrators. We can create as many barriers and obstacles and stop points for them to get to us and our children. That's where we have to do. We have to stop them, but they're not going to stop themselves. Many perpetrators, I used to have to teach before this job. I worked with victims of domestic violence. And then before that, I also worked teaching families about perpetrators, sexual assault, sexual pedophiles, and how to keep their children safe and what to be aware of. But it really is about creating barriers to access for our children. Don't leave them alone with someone. And if your child is uncomfortable with that person, and they indicate even in a small way that they're uncomfortable with them, then don't leave them with them, not even for 5 minutes, because it can only take 20 minutes for something bad to happen. It doesn't take long.
No. And there's so much happening in this world right now. I think we all need to start paying attention, not to just the kids we have with us, but I think we all need to start paying attention to our surroundings completely in a whole. And I was going to go here earlier, and we've got about 6 minutes left.
Okay.
But it's that when I grew up, we had the neighborhood. We didn't even have really a true neighborhood watch. But if I went down the street yelling the wrong thing, my mom would get a phone call. We had neighbors that were paying attention. What we have today, and I came from that neighborhood. I live in a neighborhood now where we are a melting pot of people coming from all over. They do try to get the majority of people rallied, but we lose our community, half of our community when season ends, and they go home. They're disconnected. They come back. They try to reconnect. All these things happen in Florida on a regular basis, but we're kind of not paying attention. Old school. We love and we wanted to get rid of some things old school, but we don't want to get rid of the old school that paid attention to the community and paid attention to what was happening right in front of your eyes. Whether you want to notice it or not, I think people need to start paying attention. There's all kinds of different things that we talk about on the show when somebody's having an argument and you don't want it to escalate. Just kind of interrupt a little bit, change the topic, get them off topic, make that go away. Certain things, but I don't know that. Can you can you talk about that? Because I want us to go back and I don't want the old rules. I want the new laws. I want the conversation, but I also want the community to step up and say, you know what, we are paying attention. I did see that. And can you talk about that?
Well, my perspective on that is a little different because I believe that um, whatever we make up about, the olden days or whatever, a lot of sexual assaults were happening at that time.
Sure.
It was just not talked about
Sure.
because we said it's none of my business, and our family friend person couldn't possibly be doing those kind of things. So you must be making it up. And yes, we did have more eyes, but we were also silencing it.
Yeah.
So,
well,
yes.
That's the part I want to change. I want them open and talking.
Right. So what we need to do is let go of the it's none of my business, or what happens in a man's castle is his business, and say, I care about those little girls that live down the street from me. It is my business if my grandchild is with someone that isn't appropriate. It is my business that a priest or a school teacher wants to take my child by themselves to an isolated location and give them lots of gifts and love on them. It is my business, and that's not okay. We have to pay attention to that. Again, perpetrators are looking for the loners, the vulnerable, the hurt, the isolated, the ones without friends. Those are the ones that they look for, not the one that's surrounded by friends, that has a great family system. They're looking for the kid who's maybe their dad isn't there anymore, or their mom is working all the time and they're home alone. So we need to make it our business, not in a busybody way, but in a way that says, hey, I care about you, If you need support, I'm right here. If you want to talk, I'm right here. You're not alone. That's where we lost, the extended family where grandma lived down the street and aunts and uncles weren't that far away. We don't have that as much anymore. There's a lot of grandmas and grandpas down here, and they're not up north. And the kids don't have access to their grandparents as much. I'm just, this is just an example of, families are transient. They're moving all the time. They're not connected in the same way to brothers and sisters and siblings, and they're constantly moving, so they don't have that groundedness of friendship or longevity. So when the child is moved a lot, having to make new friends all the time makes them very vulnerable. Staying home alone because they're a single parent. What can we do to help those single parents out?
Right.
So make it our business. I care about you.
At 100%. And I'm glad we went there because, and it's a good way to end the show because that's also something that we need to talk about. We need to throw out there. We need to wake people up to is that, old school stuff isn't necessarily a bad thing. It can be improved upon,
Yeah.
So this is John Rawlings with WKDW Radio 97.5 saying thank you very much for watching. Take care and follow CARE and put CARE's phone number in your cell phone. So if you run into a situation, you can get that information out of your cell phone and into somebody else's hands right away. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time, Joan. Thank you for being part of the show.
Thank you. My pleasure.
All right. Thanks a lot. Have a great day. Be safe out there and drive home carefully.
And wear turquoise.
Wear turquoise.